everybody doing? How is everybody doing? I had a malfunction. The camera fell down and then it was out of focus. I had a lot of stuff going on. But I'm here today to give you a little bit of that Woody Woodpecker energy. So, family, listen, please hit the like button for me. Please make sure you share this on your profiles. As always, if you want to go to donatebrown.com, you can. But it is absolutely helpful. Absolutely helpful, fam. Absolutely helpful if you can do one thing for me, which is hit that like button, hit that bell. If you have not hit the bell, please hit the bell so that you get notifications. I know a lot of people say you're not getting notifications. I understand, but I would really appreciate it if you would still hit the bell. That would be wonderful for me. Like I said, hit the like, go to subscribe-to-brown.com and add your name to my newsletter. If you want to go to patreon.com/Carnell and donate monthly, you can. No pressure from me. It's a pandemic. But you can hit that like button absolutely for free. Cost you no money. So many ways to help that cost you no money. So listen, fam. Let's go ahead. Let's try to get started in here because I don't think it's going to take much. I think today's going to be a little bit of light work. I don't think it's going to be heavy work and light work. I don't think it's going to be heavy work. I think it's going to be very, very light. So let's get into it because I think I put these little things up here or whatever because I think we need to talk about symbolism versus reality in terms of the moment that we're in. We have to have the conversation, fam. We have to have the conversation. Ain't nothing we can do but have the conversation. That's what we do every Monday and Wednesday. We have to talk about it. So let's say, what do you mean, Yvette? And a friend messaged me and kind of helped me frame it this morning. I was like, yes, that's what it is. That's how you frame it, right? Because that's the most important thing is how you frame a conversation. I always like to frame things. So we are in a moment where we can have something phenomenal. We are in a moment where there is profound potential for something phenomenal to happen. But it is very easy to squander the moment. That is a very easy thing to do, to just squander the moment. So when you hear me talk about symbolism, well, what am I talking about? Well, let's just talk about how 2020, we know 2020 and the pandemic and kicking everybody's butt, but let's just talk about some of what we're seeing. We hear about, the Confederate statues, right? And they're coming down. We don't hear anything about what's going up in their place. So you have a lot of symbolism going on. I saw today the Washington NFL team says it will retire the Redskins logo. Okay, that's good. They've been asking for that for a while, but that's another symbolic thing. Even though the Native Americans just got some from the Supreme Court, but this is symbolic. There's a lot of symbolism going on, and I'm looking for a lot of transformational stuff that leads to justice. I'm looking for that. Right? That's what I'm looking for. I am looking for something that is not happening. And so I want us to be very careful. We have to be very careful. We have to be very, very careful in this moment. What do you mean, Yvette? Why do we have to be careful? What do we have to be careful about? This moment looks to me, and I'm not just going to go through one thing. I'm going to go through a couple of things. They're talking about diversity at the studios. We're going to have diversity. We're going to have a more. Now, I don't know what diversity means. I don't know whether that's LGBT or whether that's brown people or whether that's women. We're going to have more diversity. CBS once broadcast whitest network sets an ambitious goal for inclusion and hiring. All of that stuff sounds good, but you got to be very, very careful. You got to be very, very careful because everything that sounds good ain't good. Everything that looks good to you ain't good for you. I am seeing a lot of things that lead me to believe this is about to be a year of tokenism. This is about to be a year where we give you the first this and the first that. This is about to be a year, ladies and gentlemen. This is about to be the year where even Justin Timberlake, who left Janet Jackson there with one breast exposed and said that she threw her own breast out and he had nothing to do. He didn't know that there was a malfunction and that Janet ought to be ashamed of herself. He is out here now talking about the Confederate statues. Anything for clout. They do anything for clout, won't they? This is the moment that we're in. This is a very symbolic moment that's made to look like a transformational moment. And we are not helped. We are not helped by the likes of Black Lives Matter and the other groups who have been involved. They are involved in the symbolism. I saw Alicia Garza say, well, this is a moment where people are very hopeful. I don't know what that means. That's not a political kind of thing to say when you say that like people are very hopeful. Let me see if I can find that real quick while we're talking about that, because I want to bring that up. Because I had it up for 1 week and I think I need to bring that up again if I can. We're very hopeful. I think this is a moment where people see hope. Hope, ladies and gentlemen, is not a policy prescription for anything. I don't know who thought it was. I don't see it. I don't know who thought it was, but that's not any kind of policy anything to say, well, I just think people have more hope this time. That's symbolism. And see, symbolism symbolism is always the trick. Symbolism is always the trick. It's whether it's this or it's that, symbolism is always the trick. But let me tell you something. Something very interesting is happening. There's a lot of symbolism going on right now, but something very interesting is happening, and I mean it in this way. There are a lot of things going on in this moment that are not symbolic at all. Now, you got all this TV, and this is what I mean by diversity. A lot of stuff ain't this, though. So you look at the picture they use. Is that Bob Hart's Abiola when the CBS talking about they going to do the overhaul? Is that who that is? We know how we felt about that TV show, don't you? Right? That's diversity. That's what we get replaced with right there. Right? I don't want to see somebody on screen talking about how ADOS is the least people to marry and you should marry white and marry this and they're on the bottom and you just got here. No. But that's diversity. They're looking to put more diversity into the film, into the industry. Diversity is not our reparations. Diversity is not our reparations, and we are not interested in a symbolic moment because something else happened recently. I don't know if everybody missed it. Let me see if I can find it. It's just a very interesting moment for interesting things to happen, for lack of a better word. I don't know if we were paying attention when this happened. Biden, Bernie Sanders, unity task forces. Now, this is real. This is not just some diversity stuff. This is real in terms of what they came to the conclusion of in terms of their platform. Biden, Bernie Sanders, unity task forces released DNC platform recommendations. Well, let's see. When you look at these things, now don't read them how you used to read them. You got to read them in terms of what is in there for us. Let Woody Woodpecker talk to you. You got to read it in terms of what is in there for us. So Bernie and Biden got together, and what did they do? Well, we didn't hear much about this, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about what was in there for everybody else, and then let's come back and talk about what was in here for us. Something was very interesting, and we're going to pivot to what was very interesting. We're going to pivot to this in a moment in terms of the rollout, because there was a whole rollout that everybody kind of missed. There was a whole rollout of what the recommendations were, and then you saw Biden go do this on the campaign trail like that, and nobody paid attention. Focus on this for me. The policy group focused on immigration, honed in heavily on repealing many of the policies enacted by the Trump administration, including travel bans to certain nations. On certain nations, they have disproportionately affected Muslim and African countries, asylum policies that have led to family separations. Following Biden's lead in calling for a path to citizenship for undocumented immigrants in the United States, the task force says they would work with Congress to reform our immigration system to provide a roadmap to citizenship. Now, we're going to keep going because ain't nothing to it but to do it, family. Ain't nothing to it. Hold on 1 second. Let me get this right. Biden said he would introduce an immigration bill in Congress on the first day of his presidency. Now, that's priorities. That's how you win that vote. That's how you show that's a priority. That's my main priority. I'm going to do that day one. The group also recommended that Biden order Homeland Security Administration's Office for Civil Rights and Civil Liberties to undertake a review of the Trump administration's immigration policies and provide recommendations for redress. Also among the immigration-related recommendations, the enactment of a 100-day moratorium on deportations of people already in the United States while conducting a full-scale study on current practices to develop recommendations for transforming enforcement practices at both the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency and the Customs and Border Protection, CBP. That's, you might as well just call that abolish ICE. That's what you might as well call that. Let's keep going though. Let's keep going. No, ain't it a lot of one thing in this task force recommendation? It's a lot of one topic, ain't it? So let's keep going. Ain't no need to stop. The task force also recommended the reallocation of resources flowing to ICE for training and to demand transparency in independent oversight over ICE and CBP's activities, and call for an end to programs that force law enforcement to take the role of immigration enforcement, including ending all agreements entered into by the Trump administration. Let's keep going. So, okay, so let me just I'll stop right there for a second. So what I want to say is that's a lot about immigration and ICE. So you might say to me, well, Yvette, what did we get? What did we get out of this? Right? We had the whole Clyburn and the fish fry, and he said, and Clyburn said, well, we can't do, pure reparations or whatever. We got to do something else. Shucky ducky, quack quack, have a fish sandwich. I got the fish fry. He ran out of fish too. I would never go to a Clyburn fish fry. You ran out of fish, homeboy. I ain't going there to not eat. But that's what it was. Right? He got everybody in lock. He got all the ADOS and black people in lockstep behind Biden. We ain't got nothing. So what do we get? Well, let's just take a look at what we get. And I'm gonna tell you why this whole thing is such a con, and why it's all symbolic and it don't mean nothing. I'm gonna tell you. Let me pull this up. Democrats commit to the important first step of supporting H.R. 40, which would establish a commission to examine how the legacy of 246 years of slavery and another century of Jim Crow segregation continues to impact the economic prospect of Black Americans, blah 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 blah, Black Americans today, and to recommend remedies. Now let me just say something, family. I want you to understand something. I want you to understand something very clearly. This is a failure. Well, why, Yvette? Why is that a failure? Everybody says that we should just support H.R. 40. And that's where we should be. And like Ta-Nehisi Coates. And everybody said we should support H.R. 40. Doing that and saying that has always been a failure. There's nothing in that little raggedy bill. That is nothing. You could give that to a high schooler as a project and they would write it. There is nothing there. Understand, other groups are getting all kinds of money and all kinds of allocations, and they're talking about changing the flow of resources, and we're getting a bill to study. Understand that people who have not been here as long as we have been here and who did not build the country are getting resources, and we are getting a study. I said it before and I will say it again. I will say it about Ta-Nehisi. I'll say it about Nicole Hannah-Jones. I'll say it about anybody who want to hear it, and I will say it to you if you come to me. You walk up to the line and not over the line, and you walk up to the line because you get a genius grant for walking up to the line and a bullet for walking over it. That's what you're doing. Nobody should have ever recommended this as a solution. There is nothing in this. Whenever, we talk about how this is supposed to look, don't we? We talk about what this is supposed to be. What it's supposed to look like. So you have a situation where Black immigrants get the immigration stuff. So if you're a Black immigrant, you get all the stuff that's in the immigration stuff. If you're a Black American, if you're an ADOS that built the country, you get a bill to study. Nobody ever should have said we're just going to sign on a bill to study. We have had a bunch of lazy people who don't want to do the work. You want to do the Genius Grant, but you don't want to do the work. You want to get the Pulitzer, but you don't want to do the work. This is what we've had. We have had a bunch of people who don't want to do the work and talk about what is the cost all the way through, from slavery all the way through today. You can break those periods up too. There's a lot of work to be done that still hasn't been done. And we want to commission to study. People are walking away with bags of money and resources and policies, and we just want to commission to study. And then when we want to commission to study, we got all the wrong people out there. Here is in Cobra. How serious do you think all this gets taken when you talk about you want a commission to study? How serious do you think these people are taken? But somehow they have an office somewhere. Can Cobra and Narc and all of them people are doing strange things, holding signs, trying to get in the way. Let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm going to tell you something I'm tired of. I'm going to tell you something I'm really tired of. I'm tired of people. You know, a lot of people love to brag, and they love to say, I've been here this long. We've been in the reparations game since the summer of '87, right? People love to say stuff like that to you and me. But you have done nothing. You have achieved nothing. And had it not been for ADOS, we would not be having a conversation. So I don't mean no disrespect to nobody. But if you have not built this space, if you have not built this conversation, I don't know why you don't take your pointy-toed shoes and go do something else. We are dealing too much right now with people who already had their shot. We are dealing too much with people who already had their opportunity and didn't know what to do with it, or decided they were going to grift with it. A lot of people had the opportunity to say, I'm not going to do nothing with it but grift. I just want the monies. Okay, fine. But we're at a point now where we understand that we need community uplift. I don't need you. I don't need the fashions. And I don't mean no disrespect, but I'm tired of this. There's certain things I don't need. I don't need performative. I don't need you going into Capitol Hill saying, well, I wear this because it's African and this. Shut up. You've been here since the 1980s. You've been here since I was in 5th grade. Your organization has started when I was in 5th grade and you ain't done nothing. Sit down and shut up and stop trying to undercut us with everything we're doing. I see you moving around. You think I don't move? You think I don't see you moving around like snakes? You think I don't know what you're doing? You think nobody calls me and tells me where you are? The only thing that I can tell all of us, the only thing that I can tell ADOS is that if these people have control of it, we all lose. Because they don't know what the heck is going on. They still running around. Where's the image at? They still running around with all this red, black, and green. I can't do nothing with this because what they are talking about goes against reparations. What they are saying goes against reparations. The reason we don't have it now, or we never had a serious push, because they were talking about global liberation and identity. Even now they can't get their stuff straight. Even now. You go to Incobra and they have a whole thing up, a quote from Barack Obama. Now this is just the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And the person below said it. They said, why do you have this up? You know, he was opposed to reparation as a way to say, are you stupid? Why are you quoting Obama? He wasn't even in favor of reparations. Are y'all okay? Who are you giving this project to? And they running around because they want the bag. That's why I said it, fam. I called it first. That's why I said what I said initially. How many of y'all remember when I said, whoever does the reparations project in terms of the commission and everything that has to happen, you shouldn't get paid. Remember I said that? I said you should only get the flight. You should only get paid for your flight and your hotel. And like flight, hotel, and food while you're there. You got to eat out. You don't get no salary though. See, when you say nobody gets paid for this. Watch when you say nobody gets paid for this, how they run off. That should be in there. You don't get paid for it. You can't get a bag from this. Once you tell people you can't get a bag from this, you'll see people run out because they run enough for the bag. That's how you got to get pointy-toed shoes. You got to buy pointy-toed shoes. You need the bag. You don't get to have been here so long and have done nothing. And then time we do something. You decide that you want to jump in front of us. That's not how this works. You get to step aside. You don't get to do what you're doing now in terms of everything that we've been doing and all of these people and mayors that we're talking about who are coming out. That's all ADOS work. And you're going behind the scenes and you're causing mischief. You people are awful. And you're not interested in collective uplift. You're interested in some kind of weird Marxist, socialist, global African liberation movement that doesn't make any sense. And now you're trying to encase that. And you try to do it. You moving in Chicago. You're doing all kind of stuff. You all are awful people in terms of what you're doing. This is awful. This is some of the most awful stuff I have ever seen. I've never seen people move like this. How are you moving? How? Well, we've been here a long time. I don't know how many people understand that you been here a long time and not achieving nothing ain't a good thing. You have been here a long time. You didn't do nothing. Not a doggone thing. Hello? Well, we was here first. Yeah, you didn't achieve anything. No, the point is not to be here. The point is to actually do something while you're here. That's the point. The point is to achieve something while you're here. The point is not to give somebody to gift you an office. The point is to do something. The point is to be something. The point is to be meaningful. I don't know. I just don't know. What is this thing doing? It's always acting up when it's me. Hold on. Hold on 1 second, fam. I tell you, this camera been acting up all day. It works for Cobra. Let me see. And Antonio tweeted this. Let me bring this up. Antonio tweeted this a while ago. But it pays to kind of bring this up to kind of put it in context. And I think I said it during the show. Hold on, let me bring it up. Look at this and compare the Japanese internment bill. For 4 years of internment, 42, 46, it was 7,000 words versus HR 40. HR 40 for hundreds of years of Adolf slavery, Jim Crow, is only 2,500 words. And take out $12 million slush fund as well. See, that slush fund is a big deal. Everybody, they trying to come and get you got to take out the slush fund. You got to say you don't get paid. Listen, you get paid in heaven, okay? That's why I'm not going to ask for no money. Why you want some? You want the government? See, everybody is wanting the government, whether it's local or federal, to get them a check. You got to say, listen, if you come into town, I'll get your hotel and I'll get your meals, right? But you don't get no check. You don't get no real check. That's how you make these people run away. Because they want money. These people are grifting. You take away the money and you take away the people. And see, I'm not concerned about that. Because I know if I'm doing the right thing and I need to eat and I'm hungry, I know ADOS will be like, Yvette, we got you a Subway sandwich. Get you a veggie meal. They don't have that. They don't have backing. But that's why you can't do it. You don't have backing, so you can't do it. Nobody supports you. Why do you think you don't have grassroots support? Why do you think Cam was out there by himself with one bullhorn? I done seen ADOS everywhere. I ain't never seen just one person. And we ain't even been doing this long. Give us a long time. And you see what we do. We'll take over this whole country. You don't have it. You are not fit to lead this movement. So stop backbiting, stop going behind the scenes with your little people at the CBC, and stop doing that. You're going to get your feelings hurt. And ADOS got to stand up to these people. They've been here too long. I was in 5th grade when y'all started, or whatever was it, 86, 87? When did the Cobra and Narc start, y'all? When was that? I know I was in elementary. Ooh, elementary school had some good food, boy. I still miss that macaroni and cheese. But anyway, I digress. I'm greedy. But my point is, you have been here. You being here this long is not a good thing. It's a bad thing, because considering how long you have been here, you should have done more here, and you did not. You are a failure. You should run away with your tail ducked between your legs and run off. You should not be somewhat arguing with me. And then y'all don't even argue straightforward. You argue on like these little channels and stuff, and you don't even say nothing to me direct. Send a DM if you froggy. Don't just talk about, well, I don't know why Yvette don't do X, Y, and Z, and I tried to talk. When, child? I don't need to, though. You failed. Like, once you failed, I don't gotta do none of that. You just get to walk away. That's just how this works. I'm sorry. That's how this works. And we've done a lot of that with people. So they talking about statues, HR 40s, and empty. Now understand, like I said, everybody else is getting all this stuff. You see all this stuff with the immigration, and the black immigrants are gonna get. We ain't gonna get none. You see all this stuff everybody's getting, and we're not gonna get none of it. And they quoting Barack Obama, and then they call it black reparations. Well, here's the problem with that, fam. Our reparations is not about a race. It's about a lineage. It's not about whether or not you're black. That was the whole conversation with Kamala. It's about whether you have lineage and whether you built the country and you were part of this 400-year multi-generational oppression. That's what it's about. So you don't even understand what you're doing, and that explains why you failed so long. Right? That's just what it is. If you don't understand it, that's not my problem. That's another failure that you have to deal with. That's another failure. I don't know what to tell you, because you put together a project, and I don't know where y'all got money from. Some of y'all got office. That's another question I have. Some of y'all have offices and stuff. I could never afford an office, and who pays for that? Because I know dues paying members don't pay for you to have an office. I want to know who backs y'all. I have a lot of questions about where y'all get money for offices and to run around and do stuff and don't never do nothing. You don't really do YouTube, so you can't get no money from YouTube like that. You don't really get donations. Don't nobody know who you are. People didn't really know who you are until I mentioned your name. So I want to know where the money comes from too. I think people should call. I think everybody should ask. Ask Sheila Jackson Lee. Ask Ilhan Omar. Do you believe that you deserve reparations? And in Cobra Knock, do you believe that Sheila Jackson Lee and Ilhan Omar deserve reparations? Let's talk about it, because people have to see. When you fail, people have to see it and they understand it. And another thing happened. There's so much that has happened. Let me go to this other clip I was looking for. You know, a lot of people, is this a moment of symbolism or transformative politics? I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know. It ain't looking good though. The Biden is moving towards, and let me see if I can find this, because after they did this right here, they moved to this whole immigration rollout. They moved to the whole thing. They did the whole thing. Right? Well, that's what they finna do. After they did that, they moved and they did this. So Biden makes sharp pivot towards Latino vote. That's what Biden is right now. They're making a sharp. Now he don't need the black vote no more. I ate fish with y'all. I had a fish fry. I talked to Clyburn. Shut up. I did that already. I'm finna make a sharp pivot to these people now. Now we ain't got nothing but a commission, maybe. A raft of recent general election polls shows Biden with a solid lead nationwide And in many battleground states, he's already leading among Hispanic voters. But if Biden can get the same level of support among support and turnout as Hillary Clinton did in 2016, while continuing better than she did among black and white voters, he's all but guaranteed to win the crucial battlegrounds of Florida and Arizona, which would effectively deny Trump the presidency. They're already on the move, right? With some real quantifiable things that they're going to get. And we're not on the move because we've been led to believe in symbolism, that it's just about HR 40, which has no money, no resources, no nothing. They give everybody else real stuff and they give us, well, we're going to study it. We're going to look at it. But let me say something else to you. Let me say something else to you real quick. I'm not going to take much time with this, but I have to, because we have to talk about the people who are doing a disservice. Because let me just say, this is the moment that we're in, and we have to talk about people who are doing a disservice. And I want to just bring up really quickly. Your girl Nicole Hannah-Jones. She got froggy. You know, she don't really have much self-discipline, so she always got to yell, holler, and scream and talk and just dig herself in a hole. Child, hush. You should just do better by it. You should cancel you should do what Coach did and just end your Twitter, because it doesn't do well for you, darling. So you said a while ago in 2019. So let me bring this up bigger for everybody watching. So we really going to have a segment of black folks giving the correct type of blackness litmus test to Kamala Harris, like we did Obama. Critiques that have nothing to do with her politics, but only have to do if she really, but only to do if she is really the kind of black. I'm already tired. Well, child, you stay tired. You need to eat more vegetables. But the point of the matter is this. What that shows you about Nicole Hannah-Jones is at that moment, she didn't understand the importance of lineage, which means that she was promoting a kind of anti-ADOS, anti-lineage rhetoric where all black people would have got reparations. She's so arrogant. She didn't even go into the conversation and understand the conversation. She just wants to talk, honey. She just want to lead. I'm just going to lead you somewhere into the darkness. I don't care. I just want to lead. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I don't know what to say, how to say it, or when to say it, but I want to lead. That's all I know. I want to lead this conversation. You don't know enough. And then when I heard her say you don't know enough, I said, well, child, Lord have mercy. The child done stole my language. She done stole my whole vernacular and everything. I'm the one who says you don't know enough, and you done stole that too and running off with that. Oh my goodness. You could have at least, rephrased it for yourself if you had any sense about yourself. But you didn't understand lineage. Well, okay, that's one thing. But there's other stuff that you didn't understand. See, you got into it with a bunch of ADOS yesterday. And I tweeted about it because the stuff you said was so stupid, I had to. So you said this about ADOS. If y'all made a centuries-long effort, a national discussion, you'd be part of the national discussion. Well, you see, now, you're saying that we're not a part of the national discussion. And that means that you're a dodo bird. You don't know enough, Nicole. Because if you knew enough, what you would know about the national discussion is it, and I want you to look at all the dates on these articles. Now, the 1619 project came about when? This is June 19, 2019, right? Now, keep that in your pocket, because understand that the 1619 project, you got to understand this if you want to understand anything. You got to understand that the 1619 project came about in, what was it, January 2020 looks like? Okay. Now that's when you came about. Honey, you late to the party. Who you talking to? Now that wasn't even the first of it. We've been here. We've been making news. What are you talking about? February of 2019. This is us. You look up this article. It's not whether Kamala Harris is black enough, critics say, but whether her policies will support Native Black Americans. That was me and Antonio and ADOS. What are you talking about? We were here before you got here. What do you mean? If y'all were part of the national debate, y'all would be part of the national debate. We were part of it. We drove it. We were it until you decided that you wanted to soak it up for yourself. And you had the New York Times back, and you, even though we were on the cover of the New York Times for our conference, you've done nothing. We built a whole movement. You've done nothing, and you are nothing. And that's what makes you so mad. That's why you always respond to us. That's why you always talk to us. Well, that and you don't have self-discipline. But also, let's look at February 2019. Black critics of Kamala Harris and Cory Booker pushed back against claims that they're Russian bots. This was in The Intercept. That the other one was at the Philly Inquirer. This was The Intercept. It was on the New York Times front page. This right here was Vox. This was Vox. Well, hold on. That's something else. Hold on. I got to find the other Vox. This is another Vox. This is her saying this is her. But let me find the other Vox. Where is it at? But we were in Vox as well. We've been everywhere, dear. While you were writing about what I just put up, school segregation, we've been everywhere talking about reparations. We've been everywhere. We were doing this. We've been doing this. ADOS was doing this while you was doing your other thing, whatever that was. Before you decided to grift. We've been here. We created this space. And we created this space, and not one of us decided to run off with the bag. Let me see if I can find this. Yeah, you were new to this space. You hadn't written nothing about reparations. You were exactly right. You hadn't done nothing, and you still don't do it well. This is the Vox article that we were in. Remember this article? We set the whole stage. Stop saying, Nicole Hannah-Jones, you can't be this stupid. Like, don't say, well, if you were part of national discussion, you would be. We are. Antonio and I just talked to the Associated Press last week. What are you talking about? Don't be a dodo bird. But see, the problem is this. You know how I always say you got to stand on your square, right? But the problem is everybody else got to stand on their square too. So let me tell you something that's happening right now. All these schools, we've had a lot of articles, right, about how ADOS, black people are having a hard time because there's no school. And you might not have no computer at home. You might not have none of the stuff that you need. And you got to go to work because you're the essential worker. This is the time to talk about schooling and segregation and oppression and what that means to ADOS people. There's somebody who used to talk about that. Who used to talk about that? Nicole Hannah-Jones used to talk about that. Let me ask you something. See, look at this date right down here. This is 2018. And what was this about? Investigating school segregation in 2018 with Nicole Hannah-Jones. She was all about the school segregation. And that's a good topic. And it's relevant now. 2016, this is how she made her name. Choosing a school for my daughter in a segregated city. What's the date on this? That's 2016. Her claim to fame is not reparations. She ain't know nothing about that. Her claim to fame and understanding and expertise. Yeah, the 1619 project came out in August of 2019. Let's look at what she did before 2019. I actually thought it came out a little bit before that, but let's look at what she did before 2019. Before the 2000, because we had already, her thing came out in August 2019. Those articles that I just put up, pay attention to the timeline. Those articles that I just put up were well before that. They were February 2019, June 2019. ADOS already making news. Long before the 1619 project, we built this, Nicole Hannah-Jones. You were doing school and segregation, and that's respectable. This is what you were talking about. Schools segregated because white people want it that way. Nicole Hannah-Jones on the persistence of segregation in America. That's 2018. Right? Are private schools immoral? That's 2017. A conversation with Nicole Hannah-Jones about race, education, and hypocrisy. Now, this will be a wonderful time for you to continue to have that conversation, because Adolph's kids are still living that life that you said you cared about. You said you cared about. You said you wanted to do this and you made this. And let me tell you something. This was your life's work, segregation education. All of a sudden, you ran off and decided you wanted to compete against me and smear me and Adolf. You ran off because let me tell you why. You said before, I put the image up. I never wrote about reparations. That's because you never cared. And Ta-Nehisi Coates never cared because he ran to France. Y'all wrote about it, but you never cared. You know why you never cared? Because all of y'all thought that it was a pipe dream. Let me show you. So you're mad at me. Why you trying to take away? Why you trying to smear everybody, Yvette? You trying to smear everybody who trying to do reparation work except for you. You shouldn't do that, Yvette. That's wrong. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. We didn't start ADOS in earnest, and Antonio Moore and I in earnest, until 2017. Nicole Hannah-Jones, you have always known, and go to paulsowers.com if you want to figure this out, because he has written down the timeline. You have always known who Coates was and what Coates was doing. Now, the case for reparations was written. Let me bring this up for you. That's a 2014 issue. Now, here's my question. If we didn't start doing reparations work in earnest until 2017. If you cared about reparations, you knew Coates, you would have done it then. You had a window to do it and you chose not to. Y'all want to know why she chose not to? Because everybody, all those Chatham class Negroes still thought. They still thought this is not going to go nowhere. I'm not going to do this. They went around. Nobody got, as the brothers I retweeted on Twitter, the brothers who pointed out that they didn't get any co-sponsors after Ta-Nehisi Coates. Nothing moved after Ta-Nehisi Coates except for his genius grant, and his butt moved to France. Nothing moved. Nothing changed. Nicole Hannah-Jones had a window between 2014 and 2017 to do what she wanted to do. She chose not to. She didn't want to do it because that was hard and she thought it was never going to happen. When we made it a national conversation and made it in the Democratic primaries, when we taught Marianne Williamson about it, even though we don't agree on the number, when we made it a national conversation, she came in to get in front of it so that she could get what she could get. I call that grifting. You had plenty of time. Ta-Nehisi Coates came back from France to go to the HR 40 commission. What for? You ain't did nothing on this. You wrote the article and you ran off. You got everything that came. Then you went to write a fiction book that I heard wasn't worth nothing. But you went to, you ran off. None of y'all did nothing until y'all saw, oh my God, wait a minute. There's energy around this issue. Oh, these people call ADOS. Well, we can't have that. See, because you're going to go and do a movie with Lionsgate now and Oprah. And so we're not going to get anything real from you because you have no backing. It's going to be symbolism. Remember the topic of the show? Symbolism versus transformative politics. See, ADOS is the grassroots. Can't have him doing that. So bring this little woman and just bring her over here and let her come from New York Times. And let her write about some stuff and talk about it. Because all she's going to ever do is talk. Because she's not grassroots. And she can co-opt the energy of ADOS. And give ADOS nothing and say, well, we still talking about, it's hard. HR 40 got approved. And then she elevated in Cobra. Cobra's been doing this for a while. I don't know why anybody ever support. I call into question anybody who supported Nicole Hannah-Jones, because this woman did elevate it in Cobra. She showed you who she was before and after, and I called it before and after. Why were you ever on the side and having a conversation with this grifter? You had an opportunity, but y'all don't want to ever do the hard work. No, you want to chase the advocacy bag. You know, they are coming to districts and saying they won't open back up. She's a school expert. They're saying that districts, because of coronavirus, might not open back up. Kids at home ain't got computers though because of the racial wealth gap and not having anything, right? You should be writing articles about that. You should be writing articles about this kind of digital poverty and how these essential workers have to go to work and what do they do with their kids. Black mothers who work at Walmart or Kroger or Ralph's or wherever and have to leave their kids at home and risk whatever. You should be writing that, but you ran off. You know why? Because you're a con. You ran off because you're a con. That's why you ran off. You ran off because, listen, this is supposed to be your life work. Your life work means you care about it. You're supposed to care about it. If something is your life's work, that means you're supposed to care. You don't give nothing. You dropped that segregation in the school bag. You were writing a book. Let me see. Hold on. You were writing a book about this stuff. Weren't you? And shout out to the person on Twitter, the ADOS fam on Twitter who pulled this up. Nicole Hannah-Jones, Emerson Fellow will write a book about school segregation in the United States to be published by One World Random House. Hannah-Jones is a reporter for the New York Times. Prior to that, she was a investigative reporter for firm ProPublica at newspapers in Oregon, North Carolina, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, this was your beat. You abandoned that thing when the bag came. Man, when you saw ADOS and made this thing a national conversation, you got gone so quick, everybody head spun. Child, you didn't care about nothing. You ran off, and you ran off because you said, hey, there's a bag here. And I'm at the New York Times, and I'm doing this stuff, and ADOS don't have this kind of end, but I do. So I'm going to use my end. And you don't even understand what you're talking about. You know how I know you don't understand what you're talking about? Let me tell you how I don't understand. How I know you don't understand what you're talking about, Nicole. Because I know you watch. You always watch. Yvette ranted about this or that. And how would you know I ranted if, rant is a very specific word. How would you know if you didn't watch? Hush. Don't rant at the computer either. Just shut up. Like, the point of the matter is you didn't even know enough about the reparations argument to know that in Cobra is opposed to the framework for reparations or the criteria that you put in the article that they don't agree with you. Black Lives Matter is opposed to the framework you put in the article. So you boosted a bunch of people who don't even agree with what you said. And that's why nobody even remembers your article this week. How many people y'all saw just passing around like, oh, this is good. This is some good stuff right here. Nobody. Because you don't understand enough to be in this space. You haven't done the work. You say y'all got here. Y'all didn't do this. We spent 3 years with data, creating a sense of urgency, talking about timing, a sense of pride in terms of identity. You did none of that. And you deserve none of this. And if any project in terms of reparations is put in your hands will fail, I think any project will fail, no matter what it is, because you don't have any kind of commitment to a project. I don't know what kids is going to do who want to get the word out about what they going through because you just done ran off on that project. I don't trust people who run and just go find a new project because there's some money over there. I don't trust that, and I don't trust you. It is what it is. Now, you wrote a whole bunch of stuff about stuff you don't write about no more. And that's why this moment could be a moment, unfortunately, of symbolism as opposed to transformational politics. And that will be up to us in terms of what we make this moment into. And how hard we're willing to fight. And how quickly we're willing to say, like, Nicole Hannah-Jones ain't about us. Right? Now you got to be respectful if you write the editors of papers, but you can still write and say this is not right, and this is why. This is a problem, and this is why. We have a right to do all of that. This is not an Oprah moment or Nicole Hannah-Jones moment. This is an ADOS moment. This is about what we deserve. And we can't have her, just like Coach did in 2014, say, I say support HR 40 and run off to France. This is about somebody who's committed to the cause. And you've shown us that you are incapable of being committed to the cause by how you ran off. When you were talking about segregation all these years and you abandoned it just to go write about something that you knew nothing about. You went and grabbed a bunch of books and said, I sure is, I'm going to figure this thing out if it kills me. See, you should have let us maintain this square. And you should have maintained your square. And it's a problem that you didn't do that. So, fam, I am going to go to break. I want to hear what you all have to say. I want to know, what kind of moment is this? Because I'm seeing far too much symbolism and not nearly enough real meaty politics for us to dig into. So you let me know what you think. I'm going to go to the phones. Give me, as usual, a few minutes to set it up. And, as always, we're going to have the conversation. All right, fam, we are back. I don't know what's going on with the sound. It keeps going up and down and up and down. So let me know, fam. So up and down. Woo. Anyway, I was trying to fix it. If y'all can't hear me, let me know. But it was just going up and down and up and down. I swear tonight is a night of stuff going wrong. Woo. Anyway, fam, please do not forget also, because I might forget at the end of the show. Please do not forget to check out Book Club Book 30th coming up. Please don't forget. Please don't forget. Please don't forget. Please don't forget. What keeps going on with here? To read the book. If you have not read it, you still have time. What is going on right there? Hold on 1 second for me. All right. We're going to go to the calls, fam. What keep going down like that? What is wrong with this thing? We're going to go to the calls, family. So give me a second to set up. So here we go. I'm going to go to 215-215. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette. My name is Megan. My sister calls in a lot, and she told me to remind you that she had called in a few weeks or months ago talking about the issue of Pan-Africanism and how I was her sister who was talking about the need to try to re-educate a lot of people who believe in Pan-Africanism.
Okay.
But anyway, I called in today because I've been following Nicole Hannah-Jones' 1619 stuff for a while. And before that, I also follow her stuff on education. And so I agree with what you said today. Her stuff on education was really well done. And so I was really shocked when she started talking about reparations. And like you, I just didn't believe anything that she was saying. And it seems to me that these folks with these high profiles at the New York Times and other newspapers are definitely encroaching on the work that you and Antonio have done and trying to, in many ways, marginalize you guys. So I wanted to know what you need from the community in terms of support, because this is really upsetting to me. Like, I know what it's like to have people steal your intellectual property and the work that you've been doing. So what would you like us to do at this point?
Well, you know what? I need people to do what everybody has kind of been doing already. In the sense of, I see a lot of people. I don't know why the sound keeps going up and down. The sound keeps going up and down. But I see a lot of people who have like turned up the heat on Nicole Hannah-Jones and everybody else, right? And I think that is what needs to keep happening, right? I think what needs to keep happening is that, like, don't let it go. Like, people are writing editors, people are going at her on Twitter, people are doing all kind of stuff, and all of that stuff, like, all of that matters. Like that, like everything you do, you may be like, oh, I just did this, and I don't think that matters that much, or whatever the case may be. But it actually really does matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. And I also wanted to ask your opinion on one other thing, if I have time. So in Philly, we are having some major pushback against the system of education, particularly a lot of racial disparities at certain magnet schools. And I'm a teacher myself, and so of course I've been following this. And I'm very concerned because we have a few magnet schools that are, you know, have a certain percentage of black but are overrepresented by white and Asian students. And one thing that's coming out from the black students at these magnet schools is that a lot of the students are not ADOS, and they're kind of like representing the ADOS perspective as if they are. And so Philly is an extremely Pan-African city, and I feel like there's no one really speaking out about the fact that not only are black students underrepresented, that is, at these magnet schools, but let's be clear, ADOS students are almost non-existent at these schools. And no one is really speaking to that stuff. And in some ways, I feel, you know, a bit intimidated by saying it. And I know that I need to step out of that, and that's work that I need to do myself. But, like, how do we start to like push those conversations more in a city that's so Pan-Africanism, in a city where if you speak out against that level of Pan-Africanism, you can be attacked and marginalized in your own community.
Well, well, that's why I think like an ADOS tribe is important, because it's very difficult to do that work by yourself. Like, it's much easier to do that work if you have people. Because let me just say this, like, tribes are important because that's family. So you fight with other people. You have brothers and sisters in arms who are saying this is what it is. So you have to have a kind of ADOS connection or network there, that even if y'all don't see each other all the time, that you have a support group there so you don't feel so alone. Because it's one thing for us to talk to you, but like, we are in other states and we might not see you. There has to be some kind of supportive mechanism so you can say, oh my God, girl, oh my God, my dude, like, this is what happened. I went out there and I talked to them about this, that, and the other, and they said this and I said this, and they be like, but you're right, you on point. You have to have like support in this. Support is so important in terms of what we're doing. And I think it's just like anything else. I don't care what people are doing, whether they're going through some kind of physical, they went through cancer or whatever you went through. People always tell you to get a support group. Well, like, ADOS has to be a support group, because I don't think that you can do this kind of work without having a support group that's kind of there for you, to listen to you and to kind of cheer you on, even if they're not in the same room with you all the time.
Thank you so much, Yvette. I appreciate your work, and at some point, I hope that we can escalate and really, like, go to war for you and Antonio.
Well, we got it. Well, you know what? And let me just say this: it's not going to war for me and Antonio. Like, it's going to war for like us to be able to live. Like, that's just what it is. Definitely. Like, because the work we do isn't for Yvette or Antonio. Like, Antonio said the other day, like, we don't have kids, so like we can meander our ways or wiggle our ways into something to where we can eat. Like, the work is to, like, for ADOS to continue as a group and not kind of be replaced and forgotten. And that is absolutely possible. So I think we have to, like, keep that in mind of, like, a lot of people love to push back sometimes, not you, fam, but like, oh, Yvette and Antonio. And it's just like, they want this. No, this is the work that we're doing is collective work. We're not doing something for us. Like, it's not something that's like, well, help Yvette and Antonio raise $1 million so they can buy this. No, we're not doing that work. So I think people have to understand that our work is their work. And I appreciate you, fam. But yeah, it's hard to do it without somebody. Like, you got to at least have an ADOS group that's kind of like, yeah, you go. So I appreciate you, fam. Thank you for calling in. And I heard some of these ADOS groups are real weird. Like, they try to encobra out or something. So you have to find like real people who are willing to and able to engage in that work. And I hope to have the little chat thing up soon. But that's what has to happen. We can't have this other stuff going on. That other stuff is stupid. Anyway, I'm going to my next caller. I'm going to 248. 248, I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is Jared, your bison brother from Farmington, Michigan. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. Good to call in again. Good to hear your voice. I want to pivot ever so slightly, if I could, but still on the subject of what you're talking about tonight.
Okay.
In the backdrop of symbolism versus substance. I want your feedback and maybe some advice. What do you do, or what do you tell people who, they feel out what you're saying as far as the political agenda, but, you press the Obama button and, this is kind of a personal thing with my brother, because I feel like he occupies this space. Because I've talked about ADOS and the Black agenda with my mom and my brother with limited success. So it's like pushback. So it's like, well, what do you expect him to do? I think the disconnect is that people think that, oh, well, you expected one black man to cure 400 years of systemic oppression and degradation and brutality, and no, that's not it. But when you still have him in the backdrop, like behind the scenes, still orchestrating things, and people say, well, we just don't have time to focus on Obama. You shouldn't criticize him. We got something now. So, like, I don't know. What do you do with that?
Well, I think what we're facing is people who don't understand politics, and it's really hard when people don't understand politics. Like, Obama's not a man. He's an ex-president who put in place policies that will impact us for probably the rest of our lives. So, I mean, I think in order to do that, you have to have people understand Obama as a person who moved institutions, right? As opposed to just a human being. And that's a political education, though, where you understand Obama as you understand Obama as laws, right? That DACA right now is Obama. That's Obama. Obama originally said, I can't do it. I'm not going to be able to do it. And then he said, well, I guess I can because y'all mad. Yeah. So you have to understand him as a series of policies and laws and different things that he set in motion as opposed to a man. See, the problem is too many of us see Obama as a man. No, what he did is important. So you have to see him as an aggregation of everything he accomplished and everything he didn't accomplish while he's in office. And so, and I think one way to do that, though, is if you have something, like people always respond to something that's personal to them, right? So if you have if you can find one thing that Obama did that was detrimental to them personally, then they perk up. So if you find somebody and you say Obama cut XYZ and you benefited from that, then they perk up. So if you can find something that you can, understand this, family, any kind of learning requires anchoring. And if people don't care about it, it's hard to anchor it. They don't understand it. Find something. There's always something there. Find something, one little thing that, like, even if it doesn't impact them now, well, you're going to Obamacare or whatever it is. Like if you look through Obama's policies, or he created all these millionaires, right? Whatever. So if you could look through his policy and find something that you can that kind of aligns and was detrimental to them personally. A lot of times our people respond to personal stuff and say, aha, I got you.
Emotions, personal, right?
You're exactly
on point. One more thing before I go. I know a while back, you might not remember this, like when you talked about like athletes or people of influence in like black celebrity, if you could recommend like a few books, you don't have to do this now, but if you could recommend like a top 3 or top 5 books about black politics to recommend to people just to get acclimated and more familiar with politics. And I'll end on that note. And I appreciate you, sister. Keep doing the good work. You're doing the damn thing, and you have a blessed night.
You too. Thank you, fam. I appreciate it so much. Yeah, make it personal. If you can, make it personal to them. Right? Make it personal. If you're talking about Biden and somebody's older, you got to bring up like, listen, Biden recommended cutting Social Security. Now, if he cuts Social Security, I ain't got the extra for you. You understand what I'm saying? But I think one very important book when affirmative action was white, and I know we went through that one and we read it and we had a book club. But like, I don't have the top 3 off the top of my head, and I know there's a book club, Goodreads, whatever. But like, when affirmative action was white, I think that's the name of it. Like, that is a very good book to read for me to kind of get a kind of intro into like everything that they got that we didn't get, right? Everything that, all the handouts that white America got that were not available to us. And so I think that book is a very, 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 very important read. We have to do that Reconstruction book at one point too. I think it's what I read it was the Foner book, and the Du Bois one too, because we have to figure that out. But like, in terms of where we are now, you have to understand what we didn't get, what we were robbed of. And so that's why I always say when affirmative action was white was the first one you should read. Let me just go to the next caller. I am going to I'm going to 504. 504. What is your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey.
Hey.
I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
I'm good. I turned my phone down, so I'm hearing you kind of weird, but I'll just get right to it. Thank you for your work.
Thank you. Thank you for calling me.
I want to bring up 2 other writers.
Okay, go ahead.
The first one is Jason Blatt. Do you remember him from the New York Times?
Oh, was he the one that got
Did
he the one that got into the trouble? No, that was somebody else.
Yes, he's the one that got caught plagiarizing.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Last year, CNN's Fareed Zakaria, same thing.
Yeah, Fareed Zakaria. Yeah, he was writing all kinds of stuff.
These people who are elevated are not that learned. They just, I don't know, had the right social capital. I don't know what happened, but you have to really read their work and then cross-check it. It's not always all there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I think with her is, when people are that, what's the word, incompetent, or they're stealing other people's work, it makes you insecure because she's just way too off the chain on social media, just constantly
Always.
berating people. Just
Yeah.
what are you doing? You
Yeah,
know,
it's
it
too much.
could be a wonderful conversation, and she just she just slams it. So it's like, what the hell is wrong with you? So I think even she knows she's a bit of a fraud.
Mm.
So she just lashes out, but that's going to be her undoing. So I'm not even going to try to stop her. Last thing, she blocked me when I was on your page.
She did what?
She blocked me while I was on your thread. She jumped in the thread claiming we were being rude. You're just so rude. You're just so rude, you people. Then I showed her what she told somebody. You think how much I care about what you said? She actually wrote that to somebody. And I
Yeah.
posted that. And she went block.
Yeah, she don't think that arrogant. She's the most arrogant person I've ever seen on social media, and she doesn't know when to be quiet.
And it's like you haven't even earned the right to do that. I mean, I don't understand. You just did one thing, and already you're queen of the universe. It's like we could have been her allies. Do you know that?
Yeah. Yeah.
We could have
Well,
backed her,
understand, fam.
but she chose.
But understand,
because
fam.
she was stealing.
Understand,
she had to push you down.
But fam,
that's my
understand
thought.
this. I want everybody to understand this. When them white socialists was chasing Nicole Hannah-Jones around town, I came on here and defended the 1619 Project because she was being chased around by some wild white people. Like, I did that.
Right.
And like, she didn't show any kind of nothing. She just still kept being her same old arrogant self. And it's just like, you can't be helped. Nobody can help you. Nobody can, like, this is a slavery project. I'm going to try to defend it. I'm going to try to defend you. I know these people is chasing you and you can't run fast. So I'm gonna try to help you out. And like, there's no gratitude. Like, we could have, heck, we got enough people that if you was down and you was really cool people, we could have sent somebody there to make sure they didn't do nothing to you and just like be like, hey, we here to support. No, but you were just so awful. You're so arrogant.
Yeah.
You took our project and then you erased us from our project.
And I'll let you go. If someone's not about the collective, you can't make them be about the collective.
No.
You can't force that. I was watching the Red Table thing. It's off topic, but I just thought to myself, Jada's Jada. You know what I mean? Whoever he married, that's who she is. Whoever that person is, that's who they are.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get them out of that. They are who they are. So people are gonna be collective. People are gonna be individuals. They're gonna go their own way. You cannot force these people to do right. You gotta just be able to go, okay, this is what it is. What's the Maya Angelou quote? When people show you who they are,
Believe them.
believe them. And just walk the hell on. So have a good night, you guys.
Thank you,
Again,
fam. I
I'm Big
appreciate
Easy.
it.
Hey, take care.
Thank you, fam.
All
I
right.
appreciate your
Bye-bye.
call. You take care as well.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, you gotta believe them, and that's who she is. She's arrogant, like, but you know, hubris, it comes before the fall. So you gonna get it because your arrogance outpaces your skill in this area anyway. So that's why I use asphalt and books to read, because you didn't know what you was talking about. But it's whatever. So let me go to the next call. I am going to 404. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? You there, 404? Hello? 404?
Hello.
Yes.
Hey, Yvette. This is Dion calling from Atlanta. How are you?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Great. Thank you so much for taking my call.
No
It's my
problem.
first time calling in. I listen a lot, but I just wanted to call in. I felt moved to call in this time because I just wanted to try to just make a point about the powerful information that you and Tone work so hard to teach us and put in front of us on a weekly basis for all these years, as opposed to, a Nicole Hannah-Jones, who is just, to me, I consider like a shallow bag chasing person. And I wanted to point out, I subscribe to the Breaking Brown newsletter, and so this week you had put a link in there to the Isidore Banks podcast about the Unfinished East South podcast, and I clicked on it, I listened to it, and I ended up in tears at the end of it. That's how powerful it was, and I encourage everybody to listen to it. But in a nutshell, if you listen to it and it's about this man, it's a black man. He was basically maybe a millionaire back in 1954, and ended up losing all his land, all his money to this white sheriff, taking advantage of all the black citizens in Arkansas. And that's just the story of one man.
Yep.
And so one black man, and just imagine how many black people that happened to, and everything that we've lost, and why we, part of a large part of the reason why we have a reparations claim. And so this is the type of information that we need to learn, to move people, to move the issue forward. Not shallow, just words like Nicole Hannah-Jones puts forth. And I just feel like you mentioned tonight that her piece on reparations wasn't even memorable, the recent piece that she wrote. And I wanted to point out, when she tweeted out announcing that she wrote it, she started the tweet out by saying something like, "I didn't intend to write this at this time." And I just blew up. I blew up immediately. Like, what in the world? What kind of weak, non-committal, non-full-throated mess is that? You can't. If you don't believe it, who else will?
I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to do this
about it. You can't lead this movement.
No, I didn't want to do this, but the world needed me. The world needed me to come out of segregation and talk about this. Nobody else would do it. You understand?
Yeah, it was just so weak, and it just soured me immediately, and that's before I even read the article. And I was like, and that's what everyone thought. And so I was like, you can't be the voice, And so, like I said, you guys, you and Tone, you do the work, you teach us, you put forth the information. And then just one more point I want to make, if I can, just real quickly, about if people are watching this NBA sequester down at Disney World. And you know how we talk about celebrities all the time and their effect. And, we have some of the NBA players that are sitting out, and some are down there right now. And you see them complaining about raggedy rooms and bad food. And I remember before it happened, Kyrie Irving came out and said that he just didn't feel right about it. Something didn't feel right about it. And I thought immediately, it's probably his DNA crying out. Because back in 2015, I had a chance to go to South Africa, Cape Town. And while I was there, I went on a tour, actually, of a museum that they have there. And, they still have a lot of racism, but they have that truth and reconciliation going on, too. So there, they just put everything out in the open. So I'll go to the museum, and you find out that they were actually recruiting black people back then. How they got the slaves in South Africa was they recruited these top professional black people from other parts of Africa, signed them to contracts, promised them money and land if they would come to Cape Town and help them do the architecture and the city planning and all this, and then when they got there, they locked them inside this building and only let them out to work, them and their families, like animals. They didn't even, there were no clothes, there were no facilities inside the building, and it's still there now. And when I heard about this NBA sequester, that's the first thing I thought about, unfortunately. And so I just wanted to tell people how important it is, and you always tell us how important it is to read. You have the book club, to travel, so you can understand things in the context of history of what has been done to us and what they continue to do to us, the trick bag, the continue things that they try to do. And just, I don't try to tell people what to do, but if you can, I would say, please don't glorify these sports and celebrities to your children, not now in this moment, not at this time. And again, that's all I have to say. But just thank you so much for everything that you do and you're talented for.
I appreciate it, fam. Thank you so much. Yeah, I would don't leave that alone. Anyway, let me go to my next call. 856-856. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
This is Curtis from Camden, New Jersey. Thank you for everything that you've been doing. I've been
Thank you, fam.
a follower of the ADOS for a long time, even lurking in the shadows. Because to make a long story short, I've been getting into my lineage and everything, and everything. And long story short, I found my father, everything, and family and everything like that. And I'm definitely ADOS on both sides.
Okay.
And the thing that makes me upset about all of this, all these people using the ADOS platform or trying to keep ADOS from doing what we need to do as a people for clout. For chasing the bag, as you've been saying, it upsets me because this is bigger than reparations for me. You know what I'm saying? Like this is my people. We suffered 400 years to get a culture, to have a community, and now we're talking about reparations being on the table, and y'all care more about getting a bag and seeing if you can get money out of this rather than seeing us uniting as a people. If you don't care about us uniting as a people, go away. Simple as that. It's the truth. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. As a person who has both sides, ADOS, I tell one of my great-great-great-grandfathers in the Freedmen's Bureau, you know how hard it was for me to see that? I had a tear in my eyes, a man.
Yeah.
Like, that's serious for me. This goes bigger than a few dollars. You know what I'm saying? I want us to get everything that we deserve because we deserve it. But I'm tired and sick of people using us to climb on our back. And they do it every time.
They do. No, they
Sick
do.
of it.
They do.
Immigrants, all of them.
They do. Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. And fam, I want you to know I appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much. And I know that had to hurt you to see in the Freedmen's Bureau and to know what happened there and how that got gutted by these white people and everything we saved and nobody repaid it. It's just another form of plunder. That's all it is. And so, like, I think we have to get to a place where, like, no, you don't get to come do segregation and then come over here and do slavery, which was the Angela Project, and then say, well, this is me now. Like, right, this is what I do now. Right? How? Like, you don't get to do that, and not enough people. Everybody's just like, well, it's good that at least somebody's writing about it. No, Colts already wrote. We don't need somebody to write about it. Really, Nicole Hannah-Jones' article was kind of like, you know, a regurgitation largely of like what Colts wrote. Colts already wrote that article. We don't need that. What we need in this moment for this people is advocacy. Stop talking to me about stuff that's not advocacy. And stop talking to me about stuff that's not us working with and for each other for reparations and a transformative black agenda. I don't want to hear, well, Yvette, she doing something with Oprah. And I don't want to hear Nicole Hannah-Jones coming, well, you just mad I didn't quote you. No, I'm mad that nobody's going to remember this stuff you wrote because you don't know how to anchor and write a really good piece of work that sticks with people. At least with Coates, he went around and interviewed people. That's what made it a good essay, even though it didn't go far enough and he didn't go far enough and he dropped the ball and ran to France. It was a good essay because he talked to people and he really made people feel the plunder. You didn't do none of that. It was a piss poor job. And so it was a wasted opportunity. And that's the problem that I had with it. And it erased us. So it doesn't have an engine anyway. People just look to Black Lives Matter, which is a dead end. And that was your fault because you wanted a group of people who were going to just kiss your butt. And that's not what we do here. And that should not be your expectation. Child, you at the New York Times. It ain't nothing special about you. So anyway, I'm going to the next call. I am going to 443. 443, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? 443 dropped out. So let's go to 631. 631. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? Turn your background down.
Hello?
Turn your background down for me.
Hello?
I'm here. Turn your background down for me, though.
Yeah, it is. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine. What's going on, fam?
Hello, my name is Christopher Cotton.
Okay.
I'm glad that I'm here. I've always supported you, Yvette.
Thank you.
I'm surprised that I'm here. The nature of my call is to bring to the attention that to realize that a lot of ADOS, there's a certain percentage of us.
I still hear an echo. Hold on. I still hear an echo in your background. Is your background down? You said it was?
Yeah, it's down now. Can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, a lot of ADOS, I would say, I love my people. A lot of us are, I would say, I don't want to say it like that, is dumb, deaf, and blind. We don't know knowledge of self. We don't know knowledge of our existence. We don't know knowledge of our people. And we must find a way. We must find a way to come together. It's very tough. I'm boots on the ground.
Okay. You got any suggestions for that? You got any suggestions for how we come together?
I'm boots on the ground, and the suggestions is that there's only a certain percentage of us that there's really only a certain percentage of us that does have that knowledge of self. Just the same way you and Yvette give out, this knowledge, there's only a certain percentage of people just like you. And a lot of the people that I talk to, that ADOS, my family, they have no knowledge or understanding. They don't care. They have this slave mentality. And there's no way that we can inform them about our lineage, about our history, because they don't know no better. It shouldn't take us 20 years for us to get this together. Honestly, it should be 10 years, because I have a son. I've been divorced for the past year. I haven't talked to him in a year.
You gotta talk to him.
He only called me after a year.
Okay.
To check up on me.
You gotta talk to him.
His mom is not ADOS. But he called me to look out for me, and he told me, I said, well, what's going on? He said, with the younger crowd, the younger people of ADOS, they're willing to go out and take it.
Go out and take what?
Whatever is out there. And I told him that isn't the way. You know, I mean, he's feeling aggressive. He's feeling that the people that he's around is aggressive. And I told him I don't want him to get hurt, to go out there and to put his life in danger. And I don't, because he wants to be a person who wants to help his people. He wants to be American.
Well, ain't he American, though? Ain't he American? Ain't you his dad?
Well, he is American, but he feels that he's not American. He does, but he feels that he's not American. And I don't know what to do.
Well, first of all, you're going to have some kind of a custody arrangement with your son where you get to see him. That's the first of all. And I don't think it's just because the person is non-ADOS. I think there's a lot of probably stuff going on in y'all's relationship that I don't really want to know, because that's not my business. I mind my business. But I think you have to have a relationship, because it takes you have to anchor him in what you are. Like, that's something that you have to kind of be involved with as well. And I want to thank you for calling in, but I think that's something that you have to be involved with. You know, parenting is a very interesting thing. But even if you have a problem with the mother or whatever, or you got a problem with the daddy, y'all gonna have to find a way to take care of that kid. That kid gonna grow up and he gonna be crazy, or she gonna be crazy. And it's all kind of different ways to be crazy. But y'all gonna have to figure it out. And you're gonna have to have some type of custody arrangement and agreement where you get to see that child. And there's a lot of stuff going on. And I understand that a lot of people don't want to tell me stuff, and that's fine, because I'm not a therapist. But you're gonna have to figure it out. This I talk to him once a year stuff is not gonna work. That's not how you raise a child. You better get some kind of arrangement and some kind of agreement with the person that you used to sleep with at night and wake up to in the morning, okay? Anyway, let me go to my next caller. I'm going to 419. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, my name is Steve. I'm calling from Toledo, Ohio.
What's going on, Steve? How you doing?
I'm doing fine, thanks. I kind of want to address these the last two callers that you had.
Okay, go ahead.
And these last two callers, one of them addressed our people not being together. The other one more or less spoke of the not having any unity and not having any sense of self.
Okay.
This sort of thing right here, and I want to just kind of like, I want to mention this. I've been speaking about it for quite a while, but I'm not sure of how many people might understand what I'm saying. Okay, after the 70s, the 80s right up until now, that would be two generations, in my opinion, because I count a generation as 20 years. So 20 years and 20 years. So, and I'm looking at those two generations. And through those two generations, it's been nothing but mass incarceration. When they began to dumb us down, and during that time a lot took place too. They taking away all our communications. I remember when each just about every city just had a community. They had their own radio stations. All of that has been done away with. And then they brought up all our magazines. That's the reason we don't really have an Essence or Ebony magazine type of thing anymore. And mass incarceration was the underlying thing to all of that. It was sort of like a white flight that took place
we brought into existence civil rights from 65 until about 75. So those 10 years is that's the only time in our period since we've been here. That's the only time which I see that we might have had an opportunity, a chance to be able to do something. And people more or less look at us as though we've had, like back to back to back to back generations of success. And this is what's happened. But it seems to me as though these last two generations, void of any fathers in the home and the degeneracy that they have placed upon black men in particular, but black people in general. I mean, this has an effect. I think what we're looking at is we're just looking at the result of the last two generations.
Okay.
And to say that we don't have a sense of self, we don't know about our history, this has been an attack. Now, it's easier for me to say this because I'm 63 years old.
Okay.
People are now, if you're 40 years old, you don't understand. It was like a Hiroshima bomb. You're just blowing up, and you're being raised in the result of an attack that has been perpetrated against us. And you don't understand what's going on right now. So that's why you have all these mixing of races and the confusion of ideals and family all going about. I don't know. That's kind of like something I just wanted to interject into the conversation because I believe that's one of the reasons, one of the primary reasons.
What's one of the primary reasons?
It is so difficult.
What's one of the primary reasons? You said what's one of the primary reasons? For what?
Well, the primary reason, one of the primary reasons why we're having such difficulty in uniting ourselves, or as you and Antonio speak to us and saying, hey, we need to do this. I have a friend that's like 50 years old. You know what he calls reparations? Welfare. And I can't talk him out of it. He refuses to listen. And I have people my own age, when I mention things to them, they just simply don't get it. And when someone calls in and I hear them speaking to you and they're saying, okay, these people just don't get it. They're dumbed down to the degree of, this has actually been, I don't think anything's wrong with us. I think something has been done to us. And we're not taking that into consideration as a collective.
Okay.
I'm not talking about as the individual, but as a collective, we're not considering the fact that they have done something to us. There's no way that I can reconcile, that I can say for two generations you have had millions upon millions upon millions of black men stripped from your community, and there's no result.
No, I agree with you, fam. I want to thank you for the call, though. I gotta let you go to get some other calls, but I agree with you. I think I will go further and say it's intentional, right? I think we all know it's intentional. Like the laws will, you make people not have jobs and be oppressed, and then set it up to where when they do black market, that's really what a lot of this stuff was, like work that they're going to end up, warehoused in cages, and it's intentional. But I think we have to work harder, and I'm not talking about specifically ADOS. I'm talking about as a group of people, we have to work harder. Right? And that's what I say in terms of building a political culture where we talk about books and we enjoy books and we enjoy our history. We don't run around saying, I don't want to see no slave movies no more. We run around and say, oh my God, I can't believe my people persevered like in this country, the most mechanized and sophisticated white supremacist country in the world. Look at what we came from. Look at we should walk tall and stand high. Like, I think we have to develop like a very, very, very rich culture around who we are and where we come from. And that takes work. And I think ADOS is the core of that work. And that's why I get upset when people decide that they're not going to include ADOS. It got nothing to do with me, Yvette. If no matter what happens to me, this thing should go on. Right? Nobody knows how many days you have. I'm not nothing foreboding. I'm just saying you don't know. So you want this to go on, but in order to have that, it has to develop a rich culture around it, like a rich cultural movement. Yes, we're a political movement. Yes, we have a political foundation. Yes, we're anchored in a political transformation. But even beyond that, it has to be a rich cultural tradition, and that's why I enjoyed Juneteenth so much. Like around America, that we were like making this as a group, like because of everything that happened, like we saw it like we never saw it before. That was amazing, and we have to keep doing that. There's no need. We don't have nothing to be ashamed of. We have nothing. We have everything to be proud of and nothing to be ashamed. And I don't know who made us think we should be ashamed of our history. It's insane. So let me go to the next caller. I'm going to 513. 513. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm from Hey, I'm doing great. I hope you're doing well as well.
I am.
I'm from Cincinnati and via Choctaw, Alabama, and Huntsville, Alabama.
Okay.
And I just love your show. It is
Thank you.
the greatest show ever.
Thank you.
I discovered you about a year ago, and I think you're so wonderful.
Oh.
And but my thing that I run into a lot is that when I tell people about you,
Okay.
yeah, they don't want to hear it for the most part.
Oh.
I'm not really sure why they don't want to hear it, but the people I talk to, they are educated. They know their history. They know that they're American first before anything else, because we don't have any cultural lineage anywhere else other than America.
Okay.
So they understand that they're American first. But they just don't want to fall in line, I believe, and just stick to being who we are. They always want to try to be someone else outside of who we are. And like you were saying about shame, I was shamed when in history class when we talked about the Civil War, because and just thinking about that, I was thinking, yeah, I was really shamed when we learned about the Civil War, and really it was just, I don't know why no one ever really talked to me about the Civil War, but I don't know, it's just a strange thing. But I just wanted to call in and say, how can we do better? Like letter writing, how can we galvanize people to be constructive? Every time after we listen to your show, what can we do constructively to get ADOS out there into the world? Who can we write? I mean, if we all write, 2,000 of us write New York Times today about Nicole Hannah Brown, I think if they got flooded with 2,000 letters, they would be impressed.
Well, I think that's wonderful. I think you can absolutely do that, right? As a project, but I think the other thing that has to happen, like I would say, first home, then tribe, right? So the sense is like influencing the people around you, and then take that to like what is your local ADOS chapter, and try to figure out, okay, how do we influence our local mayors, right? How do we influence our local lawmakers? How do we show people what we're talking about in terms of the data? What does this budget look like where I am? And does this budget reflect my priorities? Because that's the point of living in a democracy. We got to take a small scale, because we got all this other stuff going on the national. So even take a small scale. This is supposed to reflect my priorities, right? So does it do that? And if not, then how do I push for a different set of priorities? So for that benefit ADOS and not just people of color in general, and try to get that language out there. So when you're talking to somebody, you talk in terms of ADOS, and you get the language out there. You anchor the language with people. And see, a lot of this stuff is not necessarily sexy stuff, but it is stuff that normalizes ADOS within the context of the conversations that we're having, if that makes sense.
Yes. And that's what I just want solutions. I don't want any more talking heads. I want people to act and do stuff and do action. I've listened to you for about a year now, and you've given a lot of good information. But I'm like, okay, we need to just stop talking and just acting. Anytime we can act, we need to act.
The chapters. Hold on. Let me say this. The chapters are acting. Like, and the thing is, like, when, like, the fact that reparations was on the was so discussed, was like a central part of the Democratic platform, and the fact that everybody's writing about reparations now. That is because of the action of ADOS. That's not because of anything else but the action, and the action that ADOS took to prioritize reparations above everything else. So we have been acting. The thing that we have to do, though, in terms of our action, is increase the number of people who are acting on behalf of ADOS. Increase the number of ADOS, increase the number of ADOS allies. And so that means that you have to be influential even in your own sphere. You got to be influential everywhere you go. You have to be an advocate for ADOS in terms of how we talk about people. You have to know the information to understand why would you get reparations? What do you mean? You have to be able to have that conversation and win people over. That's what we have to do. And not even, I hate to say win people over, but it's just like, especially make people who are ADOS understand why this is important. So you, in your own specific universe, now that's not as sexy as like, we're going to take on this, we're going to take on that. And we have, but you have to like, we're all building armies in our own sphere. So I'm on here talking to you, and there's a whole ADOS army in the chat and watching, is going to be watching tomorrow. Everybody has to do that where they are though. Like, so it's not just Yvette on YouTube. It's everybody doing it. Hey, I've talked to so many people. Hey, now all my whole family's on. Now I got a whole community. Oh, now I started a chapter. Oh, now the chapter that I started is doing this. And oh, we're going here. You know, Marlon in Chicago is a great example of that. We got examples. We got Princess over here in Georgia. We got a lot of examples of people who are doing a lot of different stuff, you know, in different places. So I think that's kind of what has to happen. It has to grow. And that's on all of us.
Well, thank you so much, and this was wonderful. Have a great night.
You too. Thank you, fam. Thank you, fam. Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. So you don't grow. If you don't grow, you kind of die. That's just what it is. I don't know. I'm going to probably what's going to be my last caller for the evening. I am going to 804. 804. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
This is Josh. I'm calling from DMV.
What's going on, Josh?
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Can't complain. How about yourself?
Well, I'm glad I got in as the last caller. I was listening to some of the callers earlier, and it just felt like it was some therapy. So I appreciate how you handled them. Yeah, you know, because some other people, other shows and stuff, people might have just kind of got the boot. But I appreciate how you handle your show and how you do everything.
Oh, thank
I've been following this your show for a long time, and kind of inspired me and some others to do a show as well.
Okay.
So I just want to shout out to you. Just wanted to call and say I appreciate it. And just wanted to share a quick story. I heard another caller was talking about he was digging in his lineage.
Okay.
And it brought out some things. I think if I heard correctly, was talking about the Freedmen's Bureau or something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you know, I was digging in my lineage. I was just dealing with the death in the family. My grandmother in Virginia. My people from Virginia, on both sides. But on my mother's side, like, we go back to Virginia. We were tracing our lineage back to somebody that was born in 1801 and died in 1904. That was the oldest ancestor. But also in that lineage, it was a slave owner who had several plantations in Virginia. But the interesting thing is, when we looked in the lineage line, both on my mom's father's side and my mom's mother's side, they had two of the same Confederates.
Wow.
Like the father and the son on both sides.
Really?
Then my mom's first cousin had the same Confederates. Not only in her paternal grandparents, but also on her mother. So she had the same father and son Confederates was raping. You know, it was crazy. When I did some more digging on this guy, he had all kind of plantations. He had plantations in Kentucky. He had plantations in Virginia. He signed the ordinance for Virginia to secede from the Union. He was the first person that ever had a case dealing with contrabands of war, where 3 of the slaves escaped from his plantation to Fort Monroe, and they were the first ever contrabands of war. So I just saying, like, when I'm digging and learning this stuff, there's no other people that has a story like this for Ada.
No.
And then when we try to figure out, when my family, we trying to figure out, like, how did my great grandfather get the farmland that he had? Because it was very uncommon at that time. for us to have that much, for our people to have that kind of land. And come to find out, it had to deal with when these Confederates lost the war. This is like my great whatever grandfather, or maybe his father, lost in the war. They had their assets, stripped. They were lost. Their assets were gone. You were a traitor. But his son petitioned President Johnson, the worst president in history.
Johnson. Woo-wee. Ooh.
They want to talk about Trump. Y'all need to go read about Andrew Johnson. That's the worst president in history by far. I don't want to hear nobody say anything else but Johnson.
Let me say this, fam. Let me say this while you're talking about Johnson. Johnson is so awful because he changed the trajectory of ADOS life. Like, that's what makes him so awful. Like everything that we could have had, you can trace it back to him and why it was supposed to go one way for us and it went the other way. He was the one to say, "No, you ain't getting all this stuff. No, get the Confederates back. You ain't getting no 40 acres. You didn't do it." It's so much of it goes back to him. So you're right, fam. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
How that applies directly. So we look back like, man, my great grandfather had so much land. He was a farmer. He grew tobacco because in Virginia, we grew tobacco. Matter of fact, my stepfather, I never knew this. And I want to encourage everybody to just go. If you have people that grew up, that's a baby boomer, or if any of the generation before, if they still living, go talk to them. Go ask them what their stories are. Because I never thought to do that until this year, especially with COVID and all of my people dying. So I asked my stepfather, what was your experience growing up? He was like, man, my dad was, after he got back in World War II, he couldn't get a job. He never had a job all the way till I was in the 8th grade. And so every morning we used to have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and pick tobacco, And he was like, man, I hated when the summer, I wanted to go to school. I hated when the summer happened because we had to pick tobacco all day so we got a job. So that's just another story about Virginia. But my great-grandfather grew tobacco. And, we were always like, wow, he had land, he had this. But what we didn't realize was he was supposed to have way more land than that. See, when Johnson, when my great-great-great whatever grandfather, the Confederate, he lost all his property, his son petitioned Johnson and got his property back. And then, in 1875, right before this other guy died, almost all of his property, he got it back. It was restored. So the only piece of property that was held on was the piece of property that my great-grandfather inherited. But I'm just thinking, like, if this dude wasn't giving all his stuff back, we would have so much land. Like, how much would we, like, how much of that is stolen? None of that's supposed to have been ours. So when people talking about why you fighting for reparations, dude, y'all don't understand. This is like generational plunder. And I started to think about how that would compound through the generations and where I would be at. So these are the conversations I'm having with people because I want to get them to see. Don't look at just because you're making 100K this year, or 80K, or 200. I don't care if you're making 200K. And how you were an outlier, you overcame all of this. Start looking at where you would be. Go with if your dad didn't experience the racism he experienced. What about if his grandfather, his dad, didn't get denied and we got reparations? Where would we be at?
Absolutely.
So that's how I look at it.
Absolutely. Thank you, fam. Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. That was a good story. And everybody needs to understand also, absolutely, that income is not wealth. It's not about wealth. It's not about just about the income that you're making. It's about wealth. It's about intergenerational. It's about intergenerational wealth transfers. That's what it's about. So if you're talking about just, I make money, that's not wealth. Income is not wealth. So if you don't understand that, I don't know what you are going to understand or what you can understand. So, we are at the end of the show, fam. I want to thank everybody who called in. Thank you for those wonderful comments. Those were, for the most, we had some good calls tonight. So I appreciate that. This is kind of like everybody trying to figure out, well, how do we do it? How do we do it? Yeah, we have to be able to like influence people. And I think you do that. That was an interesting call, and it was a good call at first because it shows you, like, you have to be able to, like, anchor it in something that they understand. So a policy that impacted them, or this is just like that time this happened or whatever. You have to find something in that person's world to kind of connect it to. What is that person's, if you're trying to help somebody understand something, what is that person's ambition? How is that person's ambition thwarted by something that Obama did, or something that, you know, that is race specific, or whatever you want them to understand how problematic he was. So you have to find a way to kind of anchor that understanding. And that's a process. That's a process. But it's a process that we all got to get kind of more familiar with, and get better and better at it every day. It is what it is. So, fam, I want to thank everybody. I hope everybody's had a wonderful day. I hope you are finishing your libations and enjoying your time. Please hit that like button. If you have not hit the like button, please hit the like button. I would appreciate it. Please hit the subscribe. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please make sure you do that. Please make sure you go to subscribetobrown.com. If you have not done that already, please make sure that you do that. I would appreciate that. Subscribetobrown.com. Appreciate that. Hit that bell to get notifications. If you want to donate, as always, donatebrown.com, patreon.com/Carnell. But hitting that like button and hitting that subscribe button and hitting that bell costs you no money. So that's a way to support the channel. And please share with other people, fam. Keep it easy breezy until next time. And read the book, and we're going to have a good conversation. It'll probably be the 30th this month and the next day, depending on how much interest there is in the book. And, you know, keep it easy breezy, fam. Take care of yourself. Wear your mask and stay absolutely coronavirus free. Thank you, fam. We will talk next time.